can I tell you something that I've observed and it's uncomfortable to see? But what I've seen is that a lot of the sports therapists and the PTs that are on these pro teams have a bit of an inflated ego about what they bring to the athletes. And the athletes are taught a codependent structure. So if you have a soft tissue tear, you go to your PT. Like, you don't make up your own mind. You don't even really assess how bad it is. A lot of athletes just kind of get tense, nervous. There's a lot that hangs on their injuries. There's like their career, their identity, who they think they are. In a lot of cases, pro athletes, I hate to say this out loud, and it definitely doesn't apply to 100% of them, but many pro athletes don't think that they're worth anything in real society if they don't make it. Many of them are clutching onto their profession as a like, what the fuck else am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Coach? Yeah. And
Yeah,
a
no,
lot of
exactly.
a lot of athletes, like some people are driven to coach and that's fine, but like I would say, less than 20%, at least in the fields that I've seen.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of pros are like clutching on to that, and like an injury is a big deal. So there's this kind of panic that immediately sets in. And then the PT comes in as this like divine creature that is going to save the day. And a lot of it is an outside in approach. It is them manually using their hands or immobilizing, which is what we've been doing for 5,000 years. Um, and we can do it better. And when I was in college athletics, all of us athletes, footballers and golfers, were all treated the same. If we had a soft tissue tear, you were set up on, ice and compression.
Hmm.
Or if you were before practice, it was ice and heat, ice and heat. And then you would have, tens at some point, either before or after, depending on when practice was or like when your tournament was that week, how bad the tear was. And that was the protocol. And we have not steered away from that. And at professional athletics, they just have more access to drugs, more access to painkillers, more access to the quick medical route to, recovering. And I think that those of us that want to glow from within, that want to have long, enduring athletic careers, not early onset arthritis, which is how a lot of our strength training programs are still honestly set up to, create in our bodies. There's so many ways that we can improve our recovery. If I was an athlete restarting the process, I wish 30% of my training time was devoted to recovery. And as a female,
Absolutely.
I really wish that my training was based around my menstruation because
Mhm.
it highly affects your fascia tissue. Everything softens by about 50%. So many professional athletic, that's like soccer and specifically, there's incredible amount of injuries that happen, like 50% a higher rate for injury during your period if you're playing. So there's just some overall tweaks with even how PTs are, how we're teaching our up and coming athletes, our 15-year-olds, to prioritize recovery as you're building and growing muscle and speed and agility and all of this amazing stuff that we can do when we know how to keep our elasticity and our fascia. Like, the next level of athletes are going to jump higher and run faster than any of us thought were possible because of the understanding of this stuff.
Yeah. And, athletes are so, like, your self-worth is so tied to how you perform in the sport. And I went through that a lot. Like, I don't know, I would do anything. Like, they're almost at a vulnerable position to the PT because you're like, I'll do anything to just get me back out there to play so I can prove to myself that I'm good and I'm worthy. And, you know, so I think, I don't know, it's like, yes, they can fix you enough to get you out there, but they're not truly healing you or maximizing your potential, after that.
I'm I'm gonna I'm gonna say this for all of us. We are taught systems that suppress how you feel as an athlete instead of systems that enhance the sensations that you're feeling and leveraging all of that extra awareness. We are taught to push our pain down instead of explore the tension and learn how to open it, which is why a bunch of footballers that are, in their late teenage, early 20s, they have horribly weak spines, but these big, giant, strong muscles,
Hmm.
but no mobility. No ability to move their toes, but yet an ability to jump, but their ankle feels tight and they feel that ankle tightness for 6 months, but they don't know how to take care of it. And then they go out drinking with their homies. Their body's a little bit of, extra dehydrated. They don't do as good as a warm up. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
injuries are very preventative if we learn how to dialogue with the body and we have self-reliance for our recovery tools. And what I still even see in the fascia world is a bunch of massage therapists that are creating more reliance from their client to them because they have this understanding. And the sooner we can get our athletes thinking of this collagen matrix, right? So fascia is a triple helix collagen fiber network. A lot of people describe it as saran wrap. I think that's a horrible illustration to how connected it holds everything in the medium in which we all grow from. Essentially, the fascia is the soil, the bed of soil and fluid that all of our systems are connected and grow in. But it also is aware and intelligent. So our brain hates keeping us in pain. So if you have like a tension within your body, after about 2 weeks, your body will numb that space so that you don't have to exist with it. That's why people waddle on one side for 30 years and they don't really even know they walk that way. When we start to systematically palpate the tissues and we start to create a map inside of our brain of how the fascia is working, we can restore balance and fluidity on both sides of the body. And that's what changes the walking gait and posture. So when we're doing these exercises to change, the foot structure and the back structure and the posture, and we're kind of trying to strengthen these muscles, if the muscles are pulled there because of lower body tension, we are really just pushing and pulling a system that is uncomfortable all the time. And then people that are doing fascia protocols without an inherent understanding of the water in and water out. Fascia is the fluid system. So if we're doing protocols while we're dehydrated or while we're drunk or like while there's painkillers in the body, we are really, again, just fighting the system and not listening to it even more. So if I could restart, right, just boom, I'm a 3-year-old.
Hmm.
My parents know this information, driven to be the best athlete I could possibly be. The thing that I would do, right? Like if I don't have children, but like if I ever had children, they are going to be totally into their toes. The toe dexterity on them is going to be monkey-like. Our balance, our running, our jumping, our ability to feel and sense the world around us is hugely dependent on a bunch of nerve endings that are at the base of our foot. And the more we get into how our toes are connected through this fiber optic fascia chain to the anticipation of our glutes reacting, to the anticipation of us jumping and then landing, our fascia is changing from a spring-loaded structure to a fluid structure back to a tensile structure inside of a jump. All of that happens from this biomotion intelligence that the fascia is. And I think athletes, let me wave my foot around. I think that athletes can understand this concept clearest when you think about pressure. And like, I'm a golfer, right? So there's been moments of time where I've sat on a putting green and hit hundreds of 3-foot putts in a row. And the tricky thing about being a golfer is simulating the on the course pressure that you feel. So that 3-footer, when it's just you in the hole and nobody's watching, it may feel really easy. Even your mom could make the putt. But you go out there on the course, like this just happened to me last month, and that putt, because of the nature of the game that we were in, was $230. So like all I had to do was sink the 3-footer, and the other cart is paying up, and I can buy my fancy little pot that like I've been looking at for my garden. And I was so in my head, instead of like it just being an easy 3-foot putt, I was like, I can so excited. I'm going to take this cash right to the gardening store. I'm going to get that ornamental pot I'm looking at because it's like found money. And I missed the putt because I was not fully present. So there's this internal, right? A lot of different sports have their own way of having this conversation. And my language is this: your awareness is what your body is taking in. what your toes feel, the temperature of the room around you, if you need to go pee right now or not, if you have little butterflies, like little electrical feelings in your stomach that we call nerves, that we call excitement. Is there a heavy feeling in your chest because there's something that you feel unprepared for? Like there's more textures to how our water responds to certain things that we are anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
When we slow our breath rate down, we start to increase our dialogue with this awareness within our body, right? So awareness is a volume control on the sensations within our body. And sometimes when people are locked into a computer, they have zero body awareness. It's all cerebral. They just maybe hear their fingers tapping. But if their headphones are in, they may be literally like in a cerebral world. They don't even feel when they need to go pee. They don't even feel when they need to eat. Think like VR headset, no body
It's like
awareness.
people all day, every day on their phone. I mean, no one's ever thinking it's all up here and nothing is connected to the rest of your body.
So the body awareness can go numb and then can become hypersensitive. So I really feel like it's a tuning that we are looking for. And as athletes, when you're taught to push, 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 you learn how to dial down on your pain awareness. Sometimes you learn how to dial up on your precog, your hand-eye coordination, your ability to run, torque, jump in the air. Like some of basketball players have an ability to do this like quick agility jerk that like footballers do. Ping pong players do. Everybody's got their superpower. So we have awareness that is in a sense in the body. Like it doesn't involve your mind. It's your body processing information. Then you have your consciousness. That is your brain, and that's where you're holding your brain. So like if you're at the free throw line as a basketball player and you step up, you just been fouled, you step up, you got 2 shots, and you shoot the first one, you miss it. Okay. You have an opportunity in your consciousness to like rake yourself over for that failure.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have an opportunity to come right back to your breath and your body tension, centering yourself. So I talk a lot about tongue position, and I think it is a huge neurological trick under pressure to create tension and tightness in your inside again while you push the breath down. It's a way to pull all of your brain back into the center of your body, which is breath rate, which controls your heart rate. Heart rate controls your brain waves. Body tension is the effect of that. So if we can teach people how to feel their toes, relax the body, push the breath down, that's where we center. That's where you that's where you shoot the next free throw from.
Mm-hmm.
When we're not taught these skills, we have panic attacks and anxiety attacks under pressure.
And I like your fascia is like, what does it look like when your breath rate is slowed and you're calm versus when you're in a stress state? Is it tight? Is it tense? Is it different?
Okay, so let's actually take it even deeper into the body. Go ahead and if you're sitting up with me, so you can do it this way. Take your thumbs, and I want you to hook them under your armpits and pull your elbows down. This is going to kind of drop your shoulders right underneath your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you can relax your thumbs. We're just trying to finding a position where your diaphragm doesn't have a whole bunch of pressure on it. Okay, close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And now from here, I want you to breathe as big as you can into the belly. And on the exhale, just hum. We're going to do this 4 times. Okay. Again, does your face and shoulders feel a little bit more relaxed?
You can take a nap right now.
It's pretty amazing how quickly the body responds to a sound input. So the real trick is if you can the biohack is if you can lift the back third of the tongue, you can engage the vagus nerve. And it may seem just like, okay, Brooke, that's just like a weird thing to say, but I am telling you, there is an overlooked connection to the pressure within our head, to how cerebral spinal fluid is moving around our brain and how conscious and clear we stay. So explore this with me. I want you to slow motion swallow, and I want you to try to lift the back third of the tongue. I remember in the beginning, I couldn't really even sense the back third of my tongue.
Mm.
So if you need to, if you like open your mouth up really wide and almost like yawn, like, oh, oh. Like a big, like
Yeah.
first yawn of the day kind of stretch. You can feel that the soft palate, which is the space that separates our nose and our mouth, when it slightly lifts, there's almost that sensation that our skull bones like just expand ever so slightly. Like there's this expansion within your brain. The way that the skull plates are arranged is everything kind of sits like a puzzle piece right on top of the hard palate. So the hard palate is the two bones that sit at the front part of your mouth. The soft palate is a piece of tissue. It's like soft collagen tissue that sits between the two. And that's what we can lift when we're yawning. And as an opera singer, that is where you make your money, is how good you can control the resonance off of that soft palate. That's how you make things more nasally and how you make things more open, is how you fuck with basically the echo chamber of that dome, right? The hard palate, when we start to play with tongue position, either pushing it up, or pushing it down, suctioning it down, we start to mess with how these skull bones are pushing and pulling off of each other. So when people get braces at a young age, sometimes they develop this like hyper sneezing fit.
Mm.
And there are several dentists that have very compelling theories about how when we put children in braces too young, it locks up the hard palate and it keeps our cerebral spinal fluid from moving around the brain correctly. So they develop this sneezing pattern in order to sling CSF to the frontal lobe because they become like rather kind of like lifeless looking in the front of their face, like many mouth breathers. So the way that we restore CSF flow to its optimal condition, first we have to have good high quality CSF, which comes from the water in our body, which our fascia needs also to stay like regulated and hydrated. So like water is the center of all of it. But then our breath pattern has to include the lumbar diaphragm. So in the diaphragm is the muscle underneath the lungs. That's the main vacuum pump, right? Right where it links up to the spine, there's a major lymphatic site. And also, there's this little pump, like in the arch of our back. And as we flatten that part of the diaphragm, we fling CSF fluid down towards our sacrum. Then on the inhale, we pull it back up. When we learn to add our pelvic floor to our breath, this happens in a very visceral fashion, which is fun. But engaging the lumbar diaphragm is like point A of breath shape. It's like learning how to feel that position, learning how to engage it, keeping it elongated through an exhale. Um, all of these little physiological tools actually lead to us like running and managing our energy better under pressure.
It seems like you know how people can get like swelling and like a hump on the back of this area? Is that just buildup of fluid and nothing's moving from that?
The dowager hump has like a couple different interesting ways to fix it that I have seen. One is upper cervical chiropractic. Sometimes that dowager hump is a postural compensation from a breakdown happening somewhere else.
Hmm.
So I think some chiropractors would say like when someone is severely subluxated, their body compensates to keep the CSF open as much as possible by creating the dowager hump, which is crazy, right? The body is always thinking bigger than us, right?
Yeah.
The other way that I've seen people correct it is by going on like a mucusless diet which is kind of an extreme form of like detoxing and veganism, and I am not promoting the use of that diet at long-term exposure, but the system cleans out the lymphatic sites, and I think some people have like really nasty backed up lymph
Mhm.
that gets stuck in that area, and it might not have anything to do with their skeleton and everything to do with lymph that's just like on the slow build there. And for those people, like think heavy duty lemon juice, lime juice, grapes in your diet, pineapples in your diet, like those. The book by Arnold Ehret, he wrote three books. The one called the Mucusless Diet, is such a good recipe book in a detox protocol for people to understand how to fast efficiently and get the mucus out of the body. It's not just about fasting, it's also how you are then helping the body eradicate what has built up in your intestines. I really think that sauna is overlooked in his protocol. So, like when I suggest to my clients to do a fast, I suggest them reading those books, taking in what their body is ready for, because I do think you slow taper up to it. And then you add sauna. That way, we can already start to play this game with water in, water out. Because the lymph gets stuck for two reasons. A, you're not sweating enough.
Hmm.
B, you're eating a bunch of crap that's building up mucus in your body, which includes smoking. And C, your detox pathways are too backed up. So starting with the skin is so easy. Most people have access to like a hot bath or a hot sauna or a hot car or a hot day.
Yeah, yeah. Most people aren't moving enough to even break a sweat half the time.
My number one question I ask people is how many days a week are you sweating hard? And to me, if it's not at least 3 days a week minimum, you probably have stagnant water in the system. And I feel like stagnant water could be traced back to so many things that we're seeing in people. The mold issues, the parasite issues, all that stuff lives in stagnant tissue. And as we learn to flush that and replace it with healthier, higher quality waters and minerals, we change the temperament in the body.
That's crazy. I mean, it's the same thing as stagnant water that you just leave outside. It's the same exact thing.
It's like a hot bag full of water with
Yeah,
cotton in it. You know what I mean?
exactly. And you reference um cleaning out the lungs all the time. What is like a dirty lung? What's actually in there causing it to not be a clean lung?
You know, I highly recommend checking out a picture of a cadaver of lung tissue because you'll notice when you see where particles have built up that it's not like it built up on this one section first and then it's like just slowly infiltrates. It builds up where your muscle tissue wasn't moving. So it's easy to see in when you look at people's lungs if they were a belly breather or if they were an upper chest breather because or if they breathe more into their left lung than their right lung because there'll be differences in the tissue. Where it gets stuck, it's almost like if you're sweeping out a room and how the corners kind of build up the residue. It's like you can see the corners in which their breath pattern didn't allow the lung tissue to expand. Um, so the lungs are cool. They're protected by the nose. I think a lot of people don't breathe through the nose, and that makes their lungs more susceptible. But the nose is meant to be taken care of. I also hear people chronically just like re-inhaling their boogers. And when you do that, the cilia fibers aren't working. Like the mucus has to come out of the body. The longer the mucus sits on the cilia fibers, the more inflamed those will become. So a lot of people have like chronic nasal infections, and it's because they don't have just like good, proper nasal care hygiene. And as a singer, you get very equipped with what you need, all the tools that you need to navigate different humidities when you're on the road. So in the Mighty Breath course, I like outline it all. It's like, boom, this is when it's too dry, you do this. When you have allergies, you do this. And there's like with allergies, it's low raw, local raw bee pollen and honey. You know what I mean? Like you need to tell your body what is in the air. That way it can anticipate what's going to happen and have like the keys for it already. There's a dialogue system. So as tension builds up in the body, if you're paying attention to the tension, then we clear it before it becomes a thing. So the first thing to cleaning out our lungs comes with taking care of our nose, developing a relationship to the air quality in your home. If your nose is stuffy all the time, like, do you have plastics off gassing in your home? The best air filter in the whole world are three plants, the areca palm, the pothos, and the mother-in-law plants. Those three are resilient as hell. They do not need much light. They grow in the tropics really easy, so they're cheap to get, but I've seen them all over the world in like little greenhouses grown, like even in the winter countries, the winter, the countries that are cloaked in winter all the time.
Yeah.
um, but those three plants, I mean, like you can live in a bunker with those three and like not have to worry about really anything. There's a really good experiment by Kamal Miatal about that if you guys wanted more information. But so air quality, listening to your lungs, and then, avoiding obviously like pollutants. So that if we were an air particle that was floating down, so we're oxygen, we're floating through our face, down the esophagus, we branch into the bronchi, and then we're starting to travel to the alveoli where there's just the tiniest little air sac. The little highway it takes is so small that when we inhale like perfumes and smoke, it just gets lodged in the system. And the lung tissue is a lot like banana. Like it's a moist, fluid kind of a membrane. So like if someone had pneumonia, right? In my family, what I tell them to do, because they can't eradicate like what's stuck manually by like deep breathing techniques, which is what I teach people, is like how to manually pump clean the lungs. Let's just say your muscles are sore as shit, you can't do it. The way that you could literally start to clean out mucus from the lungs is you hang your hips over your shoulders. So someone who's sick could lay on a wedge pillow, and this is a gravity over time thing. So I'm talking 20 to 40 minutes of laying in one position without getting up and allowing the lungs to drain. And if you lay on your stomach, the back part of your lungs will drain and you'll start to kind of spit out. And you can make progress like with ammonia patients like this. Like when they sit ammonia patients up in a hospital, I am so confused.
Yeah.
I am flabbergasted. Um, so then you would want to lay on your side, and then the opposite side would drain. You lay on the other side, the opposite side would drain. You lay on your back, the front part will drain. So you can you can make a lot of progress by just kind of understanding what helps the lungs. And then there's some wonderful herbs that assist in the thinning out of the mucus. Mullein, thyme really helps the vasculature. So like if someone was recovering from years and years of smoking, like thyme tea, get it in there. If somebody had like a lot of mucus in the lung, get mullein tea in your body. Ginseng, and then the mucusless diet, man, it could really assist. The lungs have a lot of lymph in it. So by assisting the lymph system, you're taking pressure and tension off of the breath system. So people that can't move that lumbar part of the diaphragm and they're like, man, my diaphragm just feels so stuck. That is your lymph telling you that it's clogged there and it needs you to deep breathe. And like, it really, the mighty breath is just it's a fast way through learning how to pump that mechanism again. And some people that have fascia real stuck, like they feel like they wake up in a straitjacket fascia,
Hmm.
I start them with mighty breath. Um, and getting that will get the plasma moving, and then the fascia responds better. So it's like the breath and fascia are working together on a team to pump the rivers of the body. We've been shown all these anatomical diagrams, so we think of the bicep as this like separate unit, but it's all connected. It's literally all a fabric of water. It's all a watery fabric flowing in and out of each other. And then when we have tension, that's where the water has become like stuck and dirty. So to clean stuck, dirty water, we sweat, input better water, and then we have, a sequence that moves through these rivers to comb them out. That way that they're all pulsing rhythmically and they're controllable because you know how to control the breath.
And how much of issues people are having today is due to the communication network of the fascia being hindered by, you know, tight bound up areas or lack of flow and water? How much is the that your body's not able to communicate through the fascia?
That is an impossible question to answer, but if I'm honest with you, I do believe that the current big pharma is set up to have a perpetual loop customer.
Hmm.
And man, I would be just so thrilled to find the Achilles heel of that perpetual loop. And if you look at, asthma and COPD as a big pharma industry, and you look at knee and hip pain as an industry, you're looking at $90 billion worth of big pharma, not including when surgeries go wrong, PT and rehab, not including the pain medications that come off of like having chronic joint pain, not including the cortisone shots that preempt those surgeries. So When we trace it back even deeper to podiatry, like where some of these joint issues start to stem from the toes losing function over time, we can even go back to when we're kids, when I was put in corrective shoes. I was put in, like arches that were made for me. All of these things mold the body into a system that we don't know how to communicate with. We just know how to go to this authority figure that is the divinity of health.
Yeah. So how much of what are like cushiony high arch shoes? What is that doing to your fascia over long periods of time?
Bro, there's some really, to me, the research that's come out about how arch support reduces foot muscles is enough to dismantle podiatry, not as a whole, but at like 85%.
Hmm. Wow.
When we look at foot health, we've been sold foot health as like it's the shape of your shoe. And foot health has to do with your ability to control dexterity of the muscles. Right now, podiatry doesn't acknowledge a cure for neuropathy, yet there's been a cure for 30 years, and it comes in the form of low voltage sine wave energy tech.
Hmm.
So, like, at what point do we just kind of scratch our head and be like, are you guys, like, if not even looking at the same research that all your shit stood on? Like we
They're,
still
I
have
mean, they're not even being shown it on purpose, right? Because then their whole field would be dismantled.
And the thing is, when you zoom in to a lot of different fields right now, I really feel like that dismantling is foundationally and philosophically happening because of the advents of tech. I think a lot of industry leaders are really questioning the foundational principles. Like, we have done so good at teaching biomechanics to people that we think of the body as bits. We think of it as separate pieces. We've even developed an entire gym culture that has isolated muscle machines because we're looking at the body as a lever system instead of looking at as a fluid system that works together. So you have these macho men. I had a moment at the gym the other day. I do these wild fucking exercises and I never bring my phone into the gym because nobody else films in there. And it's just like it's my sacred time. I leave my phone in the car and I do these back bends on the wall and it's spinal mobility. Like I'm developing something for my spine that like I know I will share with others, but like I'm doing some very avant-garde shit. And my ability to get into positions that I've never accessed before as an athlete, like I'm starting to feel very ninja-y because my ankles are more open. I can almost come down into like a full side straddle with control, like with my feet under me, the way that like you would see a little like monk fly into a kick. And like, I'm not there yet, but we have been muscle infatuated incorrectly
Mhm.
instead of movement infatuated. And that separation is going to, I think, be the wild, wild west of fitness. And in the concept of recovery, to me, there's this little test right now. Big Pharma is getting into wellness via the injections and the peptides and
Hmm.
man,
Which I wanted to talk about with you today as well.
yeah.
Is your thoughts on peptides?
I think it's big pharma fucking with people trying to do the right thing. An outside-in approach is something that I don't buy. It doesn't mean it's not going to help people. It doesn't mean it's not going to be tremendous for people in the short term. I think in the long term, I have a lot of questions. And people that wish to take them, I wish you well. People that don't, I'm with you. Um, I'm there's when I look at my plants, when I look at my garden, health has grown from the nature of everything that is around it and from the energy and time that I put into like the nutrients of the soil and then the happiness of that plant and like how that plant is in that certain environment. And as that plant communicates disease, I know that it's communicating to me a pattern within it. And when I usually relocate that plant and put it where it's supposed to be, it exudes health naturally. I think a lot of us are seeking our best versions of ourselves. And we are, you know, kind of held captive as customers when we think that that is going to come from outside of ourselves. But as a coach, it's very difficult to remind people that like the tools you have are within you, but you need to just have a little bit of a system and a protocol and a routine to access those tools most efficiently so that it doesn't take you 2 hours a day. It takes you 15 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
That way you don't get tired and burnt out and it like fits into all of the other goals that you carry.
Yeah, and it's kind of a lot of the stuff today is in the name of convenience. People don't want to change their environment that they're in. They want to just take an injection and have it be fixed and not have to put in the work to do something different.
You know, Brett, I think that the emptiness of that life is already behind people's eyes.
Mhm.
And when they find purpose, they are going to feel so much more fulfilled. And I think a lot of people are waiting for a leader to propose what that purpose should be.
Mhm.
And I think that the leaders of this time are finding themselves.
Absolutely. Um, and so where does breath fit in finding yourself, regulating yourself? How many people have lost themselves because they're breathing incorrectly? That one simple thing.
Well, we're told, like in all of this, the meditation scriptures, to be present, right? But nobody really tells us what that actually means and how we find it. And to me, presence is what happens when we combine the awareness of our body and our conscious mind. And I think the greatest access for that presence when everything around us is kind of falling apart is the breath. It is our key and lock back into the center of our own ability to respond.
Mm.
So I teach people how to push down on the inhale. And I know that's an unusual feeling, but like when you start to do it correctly, you create such a rhythmic pressure change through the lymph and the CSF that you kind of feel like you pull all of your systems online. So there becomes this like benchmark, like where you put your tongue into the right place and then you pull the diaphragm down and your eyes lock in. And like that is a trained mechanism. And any athlete that trains like a flow state and has access, like, heightened states of consciousness, they will tell you that like you have to lock in to a brainwave state and then anything can pull you from it. And when somebody's about to set like a new personal best, as a golfer, who your caddy is really fucking matters, because if they're too jacked up on adrenaline, they can kind of take you out of it. So there's a steadiness that happens. There's an ease to when your body, right? As a golfer, there's this very distinct conversation between what your mind wants to execute on the shot and what your body feels is capable of. And at a high end, we talk about a cone of acceptance. And this cone of acceptance is when you stand on the range and you hit 10 7-irons and your most errant one left and your most errant one right is your cone of acceptance. That's where you show up on a daily basis. So when you're out there on the golf course, you don't beat yourself up with your failures because you know what your stats are.
Mm-hmm.
So for basketball players, it would be like, well, I missed a free throw, but like my stats are 75%. My stats are 60%. So like, it's okay. This is part of the process. So when we breathe and you're trained in that state of presence where you're pulling your brain back into the awareness of the body and you have this conversation with what your body wants to execute for a state of ease, that's when we start to access this flow. And you can stay in this flow until you create tension, and then even if you mess up a shot, you have an opportunity to beat yourself up for it, create more tension,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh shit, what did I just do? Like, I fucked up the match. I might have lost money there, la 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 la. Or you can be like, okay, doesn't matter. I hit it. For me, it's hit it, hunt it, hole it. So it's like, it's fine. Wherever it is, I've been there before. I've hit it from a tree before. I've hit it from, whatever. I like bunkers. To me, I'm just like, I'm great out of a bunker. Like, I have no friction in my brain, no loss of energy. So these games that we play internally with presence, I think is the only game worth playing.
I had a big realization of that as a player my junior year in college. I was always like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect in basketballs. I mean, if you're one of the best players, you're shooting 40% from the field. So gonna miss 6 out of 10 shots. And so I would just spiral. I would be so caught up in my misses. I started my junior year, I started meditating before games, and I would envision myself missing and then recovering and, and then making a positive play after that. And from that point on, it was like I was, I don't know, things would happen in the game and a negative thing would happen and I'm not freaking out about it because I know that a positive thing is coming next because I've already visualized it and been through that process. And that like completely turned my career around.
Can I ask, when you visualize, are you capable of visualizing perfection?
I mean, no, honest, I would say no, but
So there's a ceiling to how much success we would let ourselves have. Isn't that wild?
that's crazy. Yeah.
So like
Because
one of
I
my,
feel like I wouldn't let myself visualize perfection, if that makes any sense. Like, because I would be like lying to myself in a way.
hmm, I challenge that in you.
Yeah.
I do.
That's like self-doubt, I guess.
What kind of, I noticed that at a high end, like I have such a cool opportunity, like with my company to interact with so many elite, like world champs.
Mhm.
And I find myself learning a lot about their relationship to presence, like on the court or on the field or whatever, on the course. Like hockey goalies, their brain and their sense of presence definitely operates so different from the rest of us who are like projecting into a field.
Mhm.
Like so many of us are trying to connect a ball with a goal, but a goalie is in this defensive, like ready to receive posture.
Mhm.
A lot to be learned in that like delicate interchange of athletes, like
Definitely.
how we all texturize the field and precog what's happening or what's coming at you, how you all look at your feet, how you guys defend the optical illusion games that you play. There's so much that's inside of like elite sports. I am fascinated by the ability for some of these world champs to brain and train themselves into the delusion of world championships. And then what's wild is after they're a world champion, when they go out and play the next time, they have shifted the gaze of focus away from the competitor to the record. So they are chasing and hunting something that no one else even sees in the field. And I feel like there's a lot here to be said. When Tiger beat Jack Nicklaus's records, everybody thought it was like absolutely amazing. He did it so young, la la la. That guy had his records up on his wall for years. Like he was beating into his brain this ability. So when Jordan Spieth came out, like he had done the same thing. Tiger's records were on his wall. And, everybody handles their first $1 million differently. I feel like sometimes people surge into stardom and then they're like, oh shit,
Mhm.
rock and roll. But there's this surge of potential that we can allow ourselves to access if we practice those thoughts. And I don't know about you, Brett, but like I still feel like I am absolutely growing up into who I'm supposed to be. In this exercise, although I'm not a professional athlete the way I was anymore, I still think is incredibly important. Like who we are comparing ourselves to, the if we stop chasing goals because we have become like comfortable and convenient, what are we really doing?
You're atrophying almost.
Right. It's like a
Yeah.
slow decay.
Yeah. And I feel that even just like trying to be the healthiest version of yourself. I never want to look back at a picture of myself and be like, oh, I wish I would look like that. I want to be ascending at all times. Obviously, with age, it's not necessarily possible, but it's a continuous loop of you trying to be the best version of yourself physically, mentally. It's an ongoing daily process.
I think it's like an art. I'm really trying to exercise this word art instead of discipline because I feel like us athletes are used to like torturing ourselves towards a goal versus enjoying the process towards the goal. And I really think like that's a separation from like where the Tai Chi masters' heads are and where we are as American fitness still.
Mhm.
Like we're still caught up in being sexy. And at some point we switch to this embodiment, like where we want to feel our toes as we're doing the exercise. And like I invite, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, what the hell is this girl talking about? Go work out without headphones on, with no music for a few weeks in a row. And just witness how much more you pay attention to your breath.
Hmm.
If you let breath, like I interviewed Bill Mieta and I was like, what's your biggest advice for athletes? And he goes, stay within your breath. And I still think that's some of the best advice ever. He's like, you don't injure yourself if you are not losing it. He's like, anytime somebody injures themselves, they're already breathing dysfunctionally and trying to push towards a rep and a number instead of staying inside of the body.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and this is a hilarious story. My friend of mine, she played basketball. She actually played at FAU for a year, but she was playing pickup and she wasn't planning to play basketball that day, but it was like off season and she shit her pants. Like took a jump shot, shit her pants, and then so she's all worried about it, and then like 5 plays later she tore her ACL. So because she's so concerned and her brain is so not connected to her body, it's like elsewhere
Mm.
that her body allowed her to do something, like that would have never happened if she was within herself thinking about her body. That just made me think
Terrifying.
of that.
That is
That's
like a
great. Yeah.
nightmare.
That's like the worst day of all time, but uh but it ties in. It makes perfect sense why that would happen.
Tell me about like one of your stories. Like what's your personal success story? Can you like bring me down that? I know this is you're interviewing me, but I'm just curious.
No, no, it's great. I love how this conversation is going. I'm like, I have all this stuff to talk about. We're flowing. I like it. Uh, I mean, honestly, like I had a very successful career. Um, I played 4 years here at Florida Southern, and but personally, like as an athlete, my biggest success was, um, I would say overcoming my negative thoughts. Like I said, I think like I had a stretch where I didn't like basketball. Like I didn't love it. I was doing it because I was good at it and that's just what I had always done. But as I transferred my thought process and accepted myself a little bit, I think I like regrew my love for basketball, which was, I don't know, that it like my COVID ended my season in 2020. So I never got to finish my senior season, but I was like at peace, like I felt like I had overcome a lot and I achieved way more than I ever thought I would. And so I think personally, like it wasn't anything that I did externally. Like I was an All-American, won a bunch of awards, but it was just getting over myself and my own mental blocks that I think was like the biggest success of my athletic career.
Do you still play?
Not really. Not really. I will hear like if they ask me to play pickup, I'll go play, but I don't seek it out necessarily.
How many years has it been since college?
Uh, so 6 years, and I played 1 year professionally in Spain. Um, but that was it was COVID, no fans. Like we had to take a train everywhere instead of fly. Like it was brutal. The whole so that was and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this. But now as of recently, I'm like getting the itch a little bit to start playing.
It's hard for people like you and I. It
It is.
is.
It's you like.
It's a weird thing too. And then like I didn't play for years. And then like when I did play, I would only play drunk for a while. I don't drink anymore, but like there was a
Mhm.
pocket there where it was like only if we're, lemonade and sakis the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I would take it too seriously. And like I had to learn how to be okay with shooting higher. I had to learn to be okay with shitty shots. I had to figure out how to laugh again when
Mhm.
I'd play like shit, like for the joy of being out there. So I started bird watching. So when I hit a bad shot now, I'm just like, give me a bird,
Yeah.
like and I picnic now. Like I am a picnic master for real. Like I know how the dried fruits fit with the perfect nuts so that you
Yeah.
just have like a little token of a snack and
Mhm.
it's like Michelin star. That's what it feels like to me. That's the story I tell myself about it. But it's weird because when I play good, I'm just like, fuck, I can't believe I'm not a pro.
I know.
You know, because like you still have the shots, and like that's the mental exercise. You go out there and you're like, I never stop training. I am
Yeah.
world class. Um,
That's probably part of why I don't play. Like, I'm in better shape, like, and then I will go play really well, and I'm like, it just doesn't
it's
sit right.
bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's really it's awkward to have this. It's amazing. Everybody else is like, holy shit, I would kill for it, and it's like, no, you wouldn't. I got 15,000 hours in a sport that I don't play professionally.
Yeah.
Like you could do so much. I could have built a whole other career. I could be, like I don't even know how I got where I am. Like it's really but we learned a skill. That skill again, I get to be with it for life. You get to be with yours for life. But I highly recommend like chess. I highly recommend adding something else that you can feel the fire in
Hmm.
that like doesn't hit the same sore heartstrings. And then those sore heartstrings will change over the next 4 years. It took me a decade to like
Yeah.
really just giggle,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, honestly, golf, like, I love to play golf, and I get little competitive juices flowing, but it's humbling because I suck. So, um, but it also like fuels the drive in me to, you know, work at something and get better at something, which is good.
Yeah, golf is addictive and expensive, so good luck if you fall in love with that
Yeah.
one.
I gotta scramble on Monday. I gotta lock in. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Um,
Hey, if you
yeah,
guys
but
ever needed somebody from the Reds, I happen to.
oh yeah, I mean you'd probably laugh playing with us, but yeah, golf is a mental. Like for someone like me with basketball is so high paced, and like if I turn the ball over, I can like make up for it so quickly. Um, I don't know. It's
The
golf's good.
slowness
Yeah,
the
it's like it's good for me to retrain my brain.
the slowness is difficult for people for sure, but it makes your brain work different, you know. That's why I think like I don't know. To me, I've met now some like high-end athletes, and like Straussman is this hockey goalie, US hockey goalie, and he's like 28. Their careers are really short. So they've hit the top of their league and they're looking at, retirement in the next decade. And so they're already kind of thinking long wind. And this practice of presence to me is what us we use sport to feel presence. Like that's really what's driving us. So there's a million ways to access presence, no matter the injuries that we face or how we ebb and flow through the love of our sport. Like pickleball, ping pong, throwing a ball against the wall. Like you can access presence if you train it. And I think like that is the true addiction of like the core of the athlete is looking for that super fluid conversation between the information of the body and this like conscious mind. And I actually feel like my best golf is when I'm witnessing, like I'm in observation of how intelligent my body is, and I'm kind of like not in the way of it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's how musicians describe playing their best music, to be honest, is like they're in witness of what their body is capable of doing. So, to all the athletes that may be listening that may be in their retirement or they just got an injury, I've been flow with it. Like there's so many things that we can derive that sense from.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to it. Like it built a lot of habits within me that you know I don't know carry through and in all that I do. Um, it's windy, but so one thing I want to talk about with the feet is um, I see all the time these like videos of people like Michael Jordan when he walks and he walks with his toes pointed inwards. Um, is that how we're supposed to move, opposed to like someone who has their feet pointed outwards?
Yeah, when we look at weight transfer through like the whole machine, I'm like reaching for my foot right now, the foot skeleton. There's this, if you look up a picture of the plantar fascia, there's this flat, like, giant, super thick, it looks like a tendon right here that connects this little bone here to the center of our foot, and then it branches out to all of these toes. When we put our weight on the outside of the foot here, how that leverage transfers through the joints is a loss of power. It's an inefficient way to transfer load. Power and energy come from the ground. It's how the athlete pushes against the ground and distributes that energy, that force through the body that gives them either the impact of a punch, of a kick, of a whatever, right? Even like in singing, in a lot of ways, we're using the ground. It's kind of fun. Um, so when you pronate the foot, which is like keeping the weight on the inside line, right? If we were to take a group of athletes, home run hitters, okay, and we put them on a device called a pedar system, which is basically like a piece of fabric that measures where the weight in your foot is, right? So like if you're standing on your heels would be more red than your feet. If you're standing on the outsides of your feet, it would show that. If you were standing at the ball of the foot, it would show that. When you close your eyes and you prepare yourself to jump rope, like just jump up a couple inches, your body naturally sends the weight to the balls of your feet towards the inside line. This is how we would imagine like a feline, like getting into their athletic position, like a cat about to jump. That is our version of cat about to jump. When we transfer load, like a baseball player or a golfer or a lacrosse player or somebody's throwing shit, we are moving the weight from one side of the body to the other side of the body with efficient transferred force. If we move the weight to the outside of the foot, we lose power and force through the entire kinetic system because you're going to be slow ass getting back to the other side. So like the best experiments I've seen along this line come from Michael Bentley. He was the head engineer for um, David Ledbetter. David Ledbetter has like two devices that are pretty world famous that are still leading to breakthroughs, and I still feel like they're not caught up with Michael's research from 25 years ago. But it's how the weight dispersion of your foot and the rotation of your upper body against your hips work together to create acceleration through impact. And when you hook up sprinters, home run hitters, um, long drivers, they all have a very similar weight distribution pattern. Um, and until we become like foot forward, we are, I still feel like very hella on the cutting edge
Yeah.
because people still don't get like the importance of pronated weight disparity. There is one golf coach, JT Thomas. He's a friend of mine. He's one of the very few golf coaches out there that is talking about fascia. And damn, he gets it. Like he gets how to turn the body into a slingshot by understanding how to keep the internal body tense and use these positions against each other. Um, it's awesome. So anyway, there are like new coaches that are pushing that understanding, but I think that until people are in the gym in socks, holding their body up against a wall, doing like toe curls, trying to be like a ballerina, like we're not there yet, you know?
Yeah. No, and I've heard like long ago of football players doing ballet. Um, but I feel like that's been lost a little bit. It's and you were the first person that opened my mind to like trying to because my feet have been jammed in basketball shoes my entire life. So they're just like I've been really working to try and get my that
Pinky
separation
toe
on my
removed.
pinky. Yeah.
Nice.
And I finally am starting to get it. I'm like, oh my gosh, my feet were just in the
Dead.
worst possible position before.
Bro, they were dead.
Yeah,
Like
literally.
now they're gonna be alive and it's gonna change. Like I don't know if you know what your vertical leap is anymore, but like for you to clock it now and then clock it again in 6 months as your
Yeah.
toes start to open and strengthen.
Which is like I was always a really athletic player, and now I'm like, I don't need to stretch. I can literally just walk in and stand on the hoop and dunk the basketball. Like it's crazy to me. Before it would take me 15 minutes to warm up and get loose, and now it's like it comes so easy.
I gotta tell you, the more I learn about fascia, the less I stretch.
Yeah.
I'm really all about like compression, movement at 80% to warm the tissues up, and then movement deeper into the tissues. So it's almost like my warm ups now look more like I'm dancing into my joints, like into these like low positions instead of stretching into my joints. I'm kind of just like doing these like very slow pulsating movements into them because after doing fascia flow, my scar tissue is gone.
Hmm.
It's like scar tissue. If you have scar tissue and you're stretching, you're creating a problem. You need to do a compression protocol like fascia flow
Hmm.
and rehydrate that tissue so that it releases. And then when you stretch, stretching it should feel good. It shouldn't feel like it's ripping your body apart, you know?
How much of muscle soreness is actually fascia?
I think it's stuck lactic acid in the fascia.
Mm.
And I think that if an athlete has incredible buildup of lactic acid, like I think of like the hormonal college athletes that I was around, that I was, I wish I could have it had done not just fascia flow, but also regular sweating. I really think that like the soda, not that I was drinking a lot of soda, but I just feel like as a college athlete, you're around so much like random food. And like when you're on the road, you're eating processed food, like processed meats. And like even I was a clean athlete and I still ate so much like bread and la la
Oh
la
yeah.
that I think that some of the lactic acid was partially because I wasn't sweating enough. I wasn't getting the water out and drinking. Like I didn't know what good water was. Plastic bottle, purified water. Like, what do you mean? I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's like it's more than just the protocol. It's also this understanding of how to get how to move the lactic acid so that your body recovers as fast as possible. And sweating is, something that's free and for everybody, and they don't need my protocol to do it. And if you don't have built up scar tissue, my protocol would still help in the quickness of recovery. But damn, like we should all be sweating 3 days a week pretty hard, you
Yeah.
know?
And I mean, we're in Florida. You can get heat, infrared light, sweating just by going outside most of the day.
A car. You put a towel in the backseat of your car and you close your car doors. Set a timer for 30 minutes and get out.
Yeah. Don't leave your baby in there. Where do I want to go? This has been great. We're rolling. Yeah, so do you think that athletes should be, how do you utilize breath? Like, should they be meditating daily? Is that a practice that you would implement to like a client?
What kind of athlete are they? Are they like performing soon? Is it day of performance? Like, where are we at?
Well, that's good. We'll talk about both. So, like let's say you have a game
Okay.
on a game day. What would be your protocol?
Game day. How many hours for the game? Are we like in the morning and the game's in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing I would do is I would not hit my dopamine because I would want to peak my adrenaline at the peak of that game.
Mm.
So I would want to stay off my phone. I would really want to like limit my interactions that day. I would visualize. I wouldn't want to get in a big workout on game day because again, you want to peak your energy.
Mhm.
So it's almost like you're in a rest mode beforehand. So think staying within yourself, really good visualization, no social media, very limited text messaging. Ideally staying within a book and then doing fascia flow and mighty breath. Mighty breath is a sequence I made for pro singers on tour. It takes 10 minutes to do and it wakes up your whole system. It cleans out your nasal glands, clears the lungs for the day, gets you into a good breath shape. So I would do those two protocols in the morning. Fascia flow is going to open everything up, get the fluid moment, get you warmed up gently without any like big hoot or heart. You could watch a movie while you do those two
Mhm.
protocols. It's very chill. Just laying on the floor. Then right before, right, I would like eat good, probably take a nap if it's an afternoon time, again, kind of staying alone and reclusive so that I'm not wasting my energy, I'm not over talking, I'm not oversharing.
Mhm.
And if you're a guy athlete, no masturbating that day. Okay, you want to hold your energy. You can kind of touch yourself if you want, but like no orgasming. You want to build that energy. It's like surging for when it actually matters. Um, I would probably rest, and then however long your pre-game tournament is, that's when I would basically kind of like wake up at that point. So for me as a golfer, it was a 45-minute pre-warm up. If I did a 90-minute pre-warm up, I would kind of surge my energy too soon and I was tired by the time I got to the first tee. So there's a real sequence to like how you swell your energy If an athlete knows when they start yawning, that is your parasympathetic kicking online, preparing for adrenaline. For me, when I'm speaking like a big lecture, it's 10 minutes before I go on. That's when my heart rate will start to pick up. Whenever your heart rate picks up, that's when showtime is for you. So that's in the, for it depends on the athlete and like, if you ride the bench or if you're in the starting lineup, how you want to navigate the heart rate increase, right? But it happens to all of us singers, athletes, all of it. There is a yawn sequence that comes when you are precogging the event. When the yawns set in, settle your ass down, rest. Like put your hoodie up, cover something your eyes. Let the yawn trigger you to be in relaxation mode because your body is preparing and priming your systems for the adrenaline. When your heart rate increases, which could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 35 minutes before it, your job at that point is to stay as present as possible. The way that I teach my athletes to do this is you get very comfortable, whatever that looks like for you. If it's sitting down, laying down, standing against a wall, standing in the corner, walking outside, doesn't matter. Get comfortable. You need to feel your toes. So, normally kicking off your shoes, feeling your toes, and slowing your breath rate down to 4 breaths a minute. And we do this with the push down feeling. So, like
Mm.
the mighty breath is a 10-minute protocol that gets your system primed and ready so that when you go into this 4 breath a minute sequence, your nose is clear, your body is open, your muscles are stretched out and know how to access it. So, you drop into that sequence or slower and you hold your consciousness on what you are, where you currently are. Like, that's it. That's all you get. You don't get to think about the future. You don't get to think about the past. You don't get to think about grandma. You don't get to look at your phone. You are where your feet are. And your job is to stay there because the adrenaline is in you now. So the way that you leverage that adrenaline is by staying hyper present. And that requires like having a good team around you, having supportive people around you, having people around you that aren't going to stress you out unnecessarily, that are going to be able to be a little telepathic with your needs. You don't want to be asked 50 times if you need a drink of water or you want a snack. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's good that you prep your environment so that when that happens, you're ready, you're in the right place, you know how to kind of close your eyes and stay present. Present can be, doesn't have to just stay on your breath. It could be the sounds that you're hearing in the room. So for me, I like to close down my vision. I feel like this is too much information. It's overstimulating as hell in certain environments, particularly if there's 100 people in the room. So I close my eyes and then I focus on sounds and then I just try to stay in the music of the moment. That way I'm not using the adrenaline. I'm storing it. I'm building it up like a battery, right? And then I'm holding my mind on what it is that I want. If I let myself listen to sounds, that's great. If I was an athlete like about to execute, I would probably rehearse like my one paragraph that I say to myself. If it's Patrick Houston, like his was along the lines of like, I'm a world champion like archer. I've trained my whole life for this moment. I really think it's nice to have something you can lean upon and rehearse when the adrenaline is hitting you because you're building yourself up electrically to discharge that energy in front of people. So, if you're a pro, that's how you make your money.
No, that's an amazing breakdown. It's very similar to what I did later in my career, and it helped me tremendously. So that's good. And I don't want to take too much of your time. This was great. Uh, I think this would be very helpful for a lot of athletes. I think people are so focused on the physical aspect of being an athlete and the wrong areas of the physical aspects, to be honest. But the mental aspect is if you can control that, I truly believe that, the sky's the limit for you.
Yeah, I think opening up the conversation with the body and
Hmm.
like listening to the body as like, for a golfer, it's the cone of acceptance, right? Me and my body are in agreement, there's this sense of ease and freedom. And if there's anything that I can take as an athlete from my experience, it's like, wow, I want to have that same feeling in my body as I approach my business, as I approach my loved ones. Um, so I think we're all like seeking that same understanding, and sport and athletics is just like a vehicle of like us all endeavoring into this like space of relaxed ease that
Yeah.
we all want for ourselves, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's the
thanks.
best version of ourselves, to be honest.
Yeah, and like what does it take to build a better world is all of us making choices from that space.
Hmm.
You know, because that's what shapes culture is choice. And like choices that are made in fear are hella different than the ones made when we're like giggling and at ease and not in pain. So it's that perpetual consumer loop of like big pharma, the littlest things, tongue position, breath rate, body tension control, how to recover from soft tissue injuries. I think all of those things pull us out of that perpetual loop system. But it's self-reliance.
Hmm.
You know, I think it all comes down to like we are learning how to rely on ourselves a little bit better.
Amazing. I love it. Brooke, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll do this again sometime because we have a million things we could talk about, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share some of your thoughts and have a chat.
Thanks for seeking, man. It's really cool. I really appreciate the questions you asked. Thanks.